What up, good people? It is Kashya. Welcome to Naked and Unashamed with me. I came to do part 2 of Open Struggles, Open Celebration. Okay, I recorded the first video of Open Struggles, Open Celebrations on May the 5th or /6th because it was late at night. For some reason, I like doing videos late. As you can see now, it's kind of late. But in that video, I talked about how the internet has become a great space for people to share their open struggles and also share their open celebrations once they realize that they have overcome whatever it was that they were struggling with. In this video, I will be using the story or the life of Job to talk about open struggles, open celebrations, and using the life of Job to discuss how his journey or his struggles that he had to endure also allowed him to endure the celebration, endure the re-up, endure the reward after making it to the end of everything that he had to go through. So let's jump into it, okay? I was studying something else the other day, and I'll get to that video eventually. I'll tell y'all what I was studying if y'all haven't already been peeking in on my life, okay? But I was studying something else the other day, and one of the scriptures that was related to my study was the life of Job. And what I loved about it is that we have Bible that shares with us the life of Job and everything that he went through, right? Job started off very, very, very successful, okay? He had a family, he had children, he had wealth, business. He was a very established man, right? And for whatever reason, Satan sought to test Job, right? He sought to test Job to see if Job was going to switch up on God, right? He wanted to see if Job, I had to roll up my windows, y'all. I'm in a public place and it's a lot of stuff going on around here. But he wanted to see if Job was going to switch up and deny God or curse God. And he basically wanted to test Job's foundation. Can I say it like that? I'm going to say it like that only because it goes on my other video. So I had to say it like that. But he really wanted to test Job's foundation. He wanted to see that if Job endured everything he could think to throw at Job, would Job fold? And we know that Job didn't, because that's how Job ended up reaping everything that he did to have his time of open celebration, right? God basically allowed Job to re-up everything that he had lost, right? I told you I got a fan club. They in every state, they there. I don't know how they know I be there. I don't know how they would know in every state where I'm at, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, Job had to endure. Like, I'm sure some of you are going through things that you have to endure through, right? And maybe you have been tested to the extreme to see whether or not you're gonna fall, whether or not you're gonna slip up. And let me be honest, okay? Because I love honesty. So let me be honest. I have slipped up. I have used some choice words. I have stumbled into things, watching them, even some thoughts, right, that I probably should steer clear of. But guess what? My foundation has always still been Christ. Okay, I don't know if you can relate to that. I don't know if that's been your story as well. I don't know if you have experienced any of the things. Hopefully you have experienced none of the things I have experienced. But if you have, right, maybe you're being gang stalked, followed, watched, surveillanced. I don't know what other words to use. I think all of those are pretty fitting though. But maybe you are, maybe you're not, right? Hopefully you're not. But if you are, this is a safe space for you. So come on, make sure you hit join, subscribe, like, all of those things. Come on in here, okay? Join the Now family, okay? But Job endured all of those things, right? He also had to endure the people who knew him, right? They knew Job when he was successful. They knew Job when his family was flourishing. They knew Job when he was the pillar in the community and he was helping everybody within the community, making sure that they were okay. And then he came to this place where, because Satan sought to test Job, he literally had nothing. He dwindled down to nothing, so much so that he even had boils, right? And when you look at boils coming on someone's skin, it actually talks about in it actually talks about in Deuteronomy that that is actually a curse for disobedience. So Job had to do something within his life that was for disobedience, right? And I say that with a little shrug and a little side look, only because I've experienced people who swear I had to do something to end up with the life that I have. And the only something I did was tell God yes. I'm telling you, the only something I did was tell God yes, okay? Now, I might have did some other things before I even knew that God desired to use me as he has been using my life. But guess what? Does that disqualify those things still counting as the something that I did? No, I wouldn't say it wouldn't, right? Because God is going to count up what we done did. And I know I said it like that. God is going to count up what we done did, and we're going to reap what we've sown, right? So what God is going to judge us, okay? But nonetheless, Job endured all of those things, right? He had people saying, well, you must have did something for God to be treating you this way. And the whole time God was just testing Job to see if his foundation was solid, to see if he would have people talking about him and he would be like, you know what, I'm going to curse God, right? Because there was a point in Job's life where his wife was tempting him to be like, forget God and do this and do that. This was his wife. His life partner, the person that he chose to do life with, was telling him to curse God. Could you imagine going through something like that where you're dealing with someone, this person that you love, that you have decided to do life with, and they're telling you to curse the very being, the very entity, the very omniscient, all-knowing, all-powerful being, just because they lost a couple material things? Could you imagine the difference in Job's life if he would have looked at what his wife was saying and decided to curse God just because he lost a few material possessions? Do you think Job would have still reaped in the end the way that he did? Because Job ended up getting back plus more of what he lost. And I think Job's life is the perfect example of us enduring, right? Or Job's life is the perfect example for us of how to endure, right? Because in all of those things, it's interesting because majority of it, you see Job being still. You see Job sitting still and he's just going through, right? He's having these different conversations, of course, with the people that he knows or that knows him. And, you know, all of these different things are going on. People are judging him. They're talking about him. They're trying to, you know, basically get him to admit that he did something that he did not do. I can also relate to that, right? People throwing things on my name. They're saying all types of things. I did this. I did that. I ain't did nothing but mind my business, and somehow that bothers people a lot. When you mind your business, people are very irritated. I don't know why it bothers them so much. You would think they would want to mind their business too, but a lot of people actually don't want to mind their business. They want to mind your business. I know. I know. I think we can blame the internet for that, because I be on there scrolling too. So don't hear me and think I don't be scrolling too. I be scrolling. I be scrolling. Okay, but anyway, y'all go follow me on Instagram, please. Kashya. Anyway, so I believe Job's life is the perfect example of what open struggles, open celebration is, because how many of you have had to endure people talking about you, people talking down on you, people laughing at you, people making fun of you, people trying to get you to go against what you believe, to go against what you know, to go against your foundation, right? To go against your intuition, your spirit. Could you imagine Job's foundation being built on something unstable, right? On something that wasn't God? Could you imagine how his life could have ended had he had a shaky foundation with God? Had he not been standing on a solid rock, right? I'm pretty sure Job probably would have caved in. But because his foundation was solid in Christ, because he knew and believed and he trusted and he knew that God was going to come through for him, excuse me, I had to slow down when I'm talking, then he knew that all was well with him, okay? He knew all was well. Now, I also just want to throw in here, just for a little razzle dazzle, the lighting is different in this video because it's dark, so the shape of my face could look different, but I don't do anything extra to adjust the shape of my face besides the gua sha. I think that's how it's pronounced. Ladies, if you don't use that thing, let me tell you something. It will help the puffiness in your face. So I don't know if you're rich. I don't know if you're not rich. But if you need help, you know, with your face structure, the gua sha stone, it'll get the puffiness out of your face. I'm just throwing it out there just in case anyone wants to use it. I don't know if you're having issues with the dimensions of your face looking different when you do different stuff. I'm a high cheek girly, a round face girly. But if I do that gua sha stone, it helps pull out my jawline a little bit. I still got a little work to do. I'm still enduring the get rid of this, but I don't do any alterations, honestly, to most of my videos, which is why they are like they are. But you know, you get the message, and that's all I be worried about, is that you get the message. So make sure you get the message. Job endured all of those different things openly, right? He had a community surrounding him where he had to listen to all of the things that they were saying. All of these things were thrown at Job, right? He was sitting here trying to have these conversations with people, and they were saying, well, you had to do something. It must have been something that you did. And it was literally just God proving that there was one. Are you solid enough to be that one if God wanted to use you as an example, to be like, they're not going to curse me just because they don't have this, or they're not going to curse me just because I took away this, or they're not going to say no to standing in their faith just because maybe you had to lose someone? Don't get me wrong, loss is very something tough, very tough to deal with. Okay, especially depending on how you just deal with grief, and just death in general. Don't be trying to trip up my words, because I'm still going to get the message out. But just how you deal with death in general will impact how you deal with loss, right? But Job lost his entire family, and he still decided that he was going to serve God. He still decided that he was not going to curse God. He still decided that if all he could do in the midst of going through all of those different trials and struggle was to be still and to not curse God, that was more than enough for him to do, to endure until the end and get through that whole testing period and whole process of God proving or showing to the devil that somebody can do it. Is that somebody you? Are you able to endure open struggles so you are also able to share your open celebrations? Eventually, of course, once you get through whatever it is you may be going through. I don't know. Maybe you're going through something tough, and maybe you need a little encouragement. Maybe you need an example of how to get through it. All I know is Job is a great example. I can share with you some of the things. I put some of them already a little bit on the page of now. But Job's example was he stayed still. He endured until the end. And when he got to the end, he was able to enjoy, everything that God was able to re-up for him. So yeah, he lost some things along the way, right? But his foundation was unmovable. His foundation was unshakable. And most importantly, his faith was not moved just because of the different trials and tribulations that he had to endure. So, could you be that one? Could God use you like that? If he can, he would love to have you on the team. I'm just saying, come join this side. I know I'm in the dark, but you see all this light randomly popping up. You see the glow? That's the Lord. It's not me. It's the Lord. But if you want that too, you got to come on to this side. It's a whole lot of peace over here. It's a whole lot of light, even in the midst of the darkness that I'm sitting in right now. So, if you need help and you're going through something trying, and life's different things, especially with everything that's going on in the world today, we know, we've heard of the hantavirus that just came out, all of these different things. If you're being tested and you're going through something and maybe you're at your end, I'm here to remind you that there is victory at the end. So don't give up. Make sure you're standing on a solid foundation, regardless of what's going on, regardless of how you're being tested, regardless of the noise of the people always talking, always having something to say. So what? They're going to talk regardless, whether you up, down, left, right, blue, green, purple, pink, turquoise. I don't know what's your favorite color. I don't put your favorite color in the comments below. I don't know. I could tell you mine, but I can't at the same time. So I do like orange though. I like yellow too. I like colors. I like different colors. So what I'm saying is, you can make it to the end. It might be a little rough. You might have to go through a few little different things. But as long as your foundation is solid and it's in Christ, you're going to be all right, okay? We don't fight from a place of defeat. We fight from a place of victory, meaning we've already won. We just have to endure the battle. That's it. That's all. So basically, it's like having the checkmate. You just got to move the pieces on the board, but the checkmate is already there. Yeah. It's chess, not checkers. I love y'all later now. Be great and be good. And don't go being ugly to people just because you're having a bad day, okay? My day started off a little interesting today, but we still glowing outside, all right? So, I love y'all later. Open struggles, open celebrations. You can endure. I love y'all later. Deuces.